Hey everyone, welcome. Thanks for joining me on designing Adobe XD. I am Alex Poterek. I am one of the designers on XD. Happy Friday. It's been a long week. I'm excited for the weekend. But today we're gonna have a really fun show. Let's see who's joining in the chat today. Got Huxel, Tim. We got Jack. Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. Yeah, so today I think I wanted to talk about prototyping. As some of you know from some of the other streams I've done, prototyping is sort of my main focus on XD, so I want to prototype some new features today maybe. Do a little walkthrough about animation, and kind of, I guess the feature I want to build today is enhancing some of the prototyping features that we already have. As always, I love participation from the stream. If there are features that you want to see improved or we don't have, and you want to like maybe go do a quick run through, totally happy to do that. So just shout them out there, and maybe we can talk about them or get them on the computer and kind of make something going. So I think the thing that has really been on my mind this past week has been motion and how interactivity works with motion. So with XD, we use triggers in prototype mode to actually make motion play through. And it's becoming more and more important, whether it's for just telling a story, a linear story, or a less linear story, more dynamic story. It's really important. And then design systems are using that more and more. So you're gonna have your components that have motion to them. They move a little bit. They kind of bring a little bit of joy when you interact with them, or they help you kind of keep your headspace of where you are in the app. It's super important. And today, and I mean, I think Howard's in this chat too, and I think he knows more than anybody how important motion is, and I won't say dark mode. Although it's almost Halloween, so how can we not like talk about dark mode? I mean, like, or spooky mode or scary mode. I kind of wanted to do that today, but I decided against it, and maybe once we're closer to Halloween. Not to say I won't do a little Halloween stuff today. I'm definitely gonna do that. So I think I'm gonna coin that term. So I kind of want to hop into my computer and kind of go over something I put together pretty recently and talk about some of the design principles for motion. And like I said, it's a pretty important thing for us right now, and my transitions are all goofy right now. So when we talk about motion, what we want to do in XD is create realness as quickly as possible. A designer should be able to go into the app, wire something up, and get motion immediately. So whether that's just like a baked transition, like in iOS when it pushes the screen aside or maybe overlaps it, like something that becomes real and becomes really useful to the user, and they get this real sense of like, wow, I accomplished this, I did this. That's really important. You want to get early success because we all want to like have something that we produced and be able to show for it. And then progressive disclosure is super important as well. So as we take people through the different types of animations, we don't want to overwhelm people with the timeline. We don't want to like have you go into this like specialized area unless you have to. We want you to be able to do that quick wire, and then you're good to go. And it just works like almost all the time. Occasionally you'll run into some limitations, but those are things that we're working on to improve all the time. And then if you do want to do those more advanced things, you can go ahead and go into After Effects. You can export any of your designs, any artboard, push it into After Effects, do some more stuff there. And then performance, again, is one of our top priorities. So these things aren't being rendered out, they're running in real time. So if it's not performant, we're not going to probably ship the feature until we can get it performant. So I know there's some limitations in our auto animate right now, and we're working hard to make sure that we can deliver those things, but for 90% of the things you're going to do with auto animate is going to work. So motion in XD today, like I said, super easy transitions. So these are just sort of baked, sort of how maybe an iOS or Google phone would kind of behave, where you have one screen and it's going to slide the other one right on top of it, or sorry, it's going to push right on top of it. Then you also have slide, which would just slide on top. Then you have your dissolves and stuff like that. And this is that super simple motion, right? And then on top of that, we introduced Auto Animate last year, or maybe it was like a year and a half ago. I don't know. I lose track of time all the time. But you take artboard 1, artboard 2, and then we do the rest. We transition all the deltas and differences between the two. Then we introduce time triggers. So you can actually start to link up multiple artboards. So you have like artboard A, B, C, and they all sort of like start to daisy chain together and create a little bit more advanced choreography. And then on top of that, you add these drag triggers, right? So now all of a sudden I can actually use my mouse to create this motion, right? And then when I do that, it automatically triggers this other thing. And again, this I can trigger its own motion, and then everything comes back into play. So it can be a really powerful tool if you use it the right way. And these are things that we consider and we want to obviously enhance, but they add a lot of functionality for the everyday user, and they're things that you can do just really quickly. You don't have to go into any sort of special mode. It's just something that you wire up, you have differences, these visual keyframes almost, and then they work together. And then of course, when you do want to do more advanced stuff, you export it out to After Effects, where you can maybe do a little bit more advanced things. It's funny because this example you could absolutely do in XD, but just wanted to show the motion and the scrubbing on a timeline in After Effects. And After Effects is super cool. I love After Effects. So yeah, I just wanted to share that out today. I think Auto Animate is a super powerful tool that just keeps building, and I sort of did an audit of what it is today, and because as we're looking to make it more improvements and in the future, we want to see like where we are and where we want to be. And then there was like a whole bunch of slides over here that I had to delete because those are the where we want to be soon sort of things. Okay, let's see what we got going on. Sorry, I just went on like a little presentation / rant about this stuff. Blend. Let's just apply a layer with a blend mode difference to XD. That would, yeah, exactly. Let's just draw a rectangle over the entire XD app and then put the difference blend mode on. It's done. I feel like you can go into your accessibility in iOS and just invert all the colors on your iOS. Sure, your designs are going to be in reverse, but whatever. Those can look cool. Ooh, have the grab cursor when you drag. I agree. That'd be super cool. That is, yeah, it would be interesting because it would depend on what sort of app you're using, right? So if it's a web app, yeah, totally, that makes sense. Like if you're moving around a map, but if you're on a touch screen, you never see those sort of cursors. You just have a finger down sort of thing. But yeah, that's totally something that would be an interesting feature in the future for prototyping. I think, yeah, cursor stuff would be really cool, just being able to flip what kind of cursor you're showing, whether it's a Mac cursor, Windows cursor, or like a touch circle that they sort of put in there. Yeah, I agree. Sunglasses, those work too. I mean, that makes everything dark mode. I'm into that. Let's see. Yeah, I guess there are some iOS smart invert features and things like that too, which are pretty cool. All right, let's build a little bit of feature. So now that we've been chatting about that, the last thing I sort of showed was this drag functionality. And another thing that's been bugging me lately is that you can only drag in one direction, and there's reasons for that, right? Because you set up A and B, and you say find the difference and drag to that thing. And if you said, okay, now I want it to also drag to this other thing, is how are we supposed to know, or how are like even in programming, like how are you supposed to know which one you want it to go to at that time? But maybe there's a couple like visual ways we could do that. And this is gonna be definitely me winging this design feature right now, but that's what I do all the time. Is I just sort of put it down, see if it's awesome, see if it's terrible. More terrible than not, but that's totally how the design process goes. So let's see what happens. I'm just going to use this as a template artboard. Okay, so I guess what's the use case for this? And I guess what I'm thinking of is actually, let's go more for like a phone thing, right? I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna make a card sort of like this. I'm actually gonna do this on the pasteboard for now, as I kind of build this out. It's gonna be like a little bit of rounded corners. I hate borders, let's get rid of them. Maybe a shadow, or maybe just make it a little bit like blurrier sort of shadow. And I'm gonna take these and put them, let's actually make them a little bit further apart. Let's go like 120. That feels right for now. And actually I'm gonna get I am going to get called out for not using repeat grid, so we're gonna just do that. Let's keep this. Let's go about 100 with this because I think the shadows are being accounted for in this. So we're gonna do this. Then we're gonna go here, and I have a couple. I'm gonna do 4 just so I can use all 4 of my movie posters. And we're totally going Halloween movies because I said I was gonna do Halloween theme. Also, I want to hear everyone's Halloween movies. What's your favorite ones? What are must-watches? These are some of my favorite, not necessarily Halloween, but scary movies for sure. We got over here classic Alien. Love sci-fi horror. It's the best. Evil Dead is hilariously scary. Hereditary, it's like an A24 movie that came out, like I want to say like a year ago. It's disturbing. It's really messed up. And like there's like the whole like this clucking noise that this person makes in the movie that's just kind of gives me shivers when I still hear it today. And then of course, Hocus Pocus, because it's the greatest. And also like weirdly scary. When I was a kid, I was sort of horrified of this movie. Yes, Evil Dead, super good. I see that. Okay, so here's the use case that I'm thinking of right up here. We're gonna put Evil Dead up front and center. Okay, and then we're gonna duplicate this. And let's go vertical just because we're working with some wide horizontal stuff. I'm just gonna work down here. Okay, so let's say we want to move this over to Hereditary, right? And let's center that ish. I'm not gonna be too worried about it. Now I'm gonna select this guy. I'm gonna say, when I drag this, I wanna go over here. So I'm gonna set up this drag and it's auto animate by default. Perfect, so look at that. It works just like that. But when I'm on this screen, what if I wanted it to like go over there? Like what if I wanted it to go to this, let me go to the design mode real quick. What if I wanted it to go to Alien instead? So there's some workarounds for that today, right? There's this whole like sort of, and this is gonna be a little hacky, all things considered, but I'm gonna do a little bit of this where it's like one way goes over there, one way goes over here. And then I'm gonna put these in like a larger group too, just so the drag sort of makes a little bit more sense. Okay, this, that's a group, cool. So what I'm gonna say here is this is gonna be invisible. Well, these are all gonna be invisible, but I'm actually gonna make these like pink just so you can see where the hit areas are. Sort of like that. Okay. So now I'm gonna actually go into prototype mode, remove this, and I'm gonna say on drag, do this, but of course I need this over here as well. And then I'm gonna move this over here. And then hopefully that'll work. Yep, there it goes. Then I'm gonna set up another one down here that is going, actually I'm gonna select both of these. That's gonna go over here. And then I'm gonna set up the second one so that it goes to this. Okay, So now if I go this way, it'll go to that direction. If I go this way, it'll go to that direction. And if I go ahead and hide these things, obviously, the user will not know, hopefully, unless they click on the wrong half and then drag the wrong way. But that's just one of our limitations, and that's what I kind of wanted to start to poke around, see like, is there a way to fix that a little bit? Okay. Little Shop of Horrors. Ah, man, I feel like I've seen it. I just can't. Wait. I'm drawing a blank on that one. Okay, so The Witch. I just watched The Witch. If it's the VV one, I think. I think that's another A24, maybe. Super creepy. It's hard to understand them. I'm not gonna lie. I had to put the subtitles on, or they would just like keep it really quiet, just so that when something crazy does happen, that you'd have it up because you can't hear them, and all of a sudden you just blast you with audio, which I mean adds to the like scary thing. But yeah, that's a good one. It's a good one. Recommend subtitles just because, or maybe you're more fluent in I don't know, what is that, like Salem witch trial, like Old English, I guess. Okay, so anyway, I'm sort of all over the place with this then. Okay, so I want to start to look at what this could be like over here if I'm starting to author it. So now we're going away from like, I'm a designer trying to author this thing, and now I'm a designer trying to author the tool. So we have this set up over here. I'm gonna make this look like the artboard. Just really roughly, I just want to throw my idea out there and get some feedback on it, so it can look like whatever. Okay, that's gonna do it. I'm gonna get rid of this top guy. Do this. I want to make it look like it's off the screen a little bit, so I'm just gonna put a little transparency on top of it. Okay, so what I always thought would be super cool is if once you create a drag, what if you had a little sort of line that showed up and was just like, hey, you're dragging it this way. And maybe it's like ant tracks too, so it like really shows like movement or like motion, right? That's not doing it for me. Maybe I have to just keep it. Yeah, maybe it's something like this, and then maybe we can throw a little like arrow dude over here, right? Actually, let's do a circle. So this is gonna tell me like where the target is, essentially, right here. And what do I want this to look like? Maybe it's just like this. Then maybe over here it's like not filled in. Maybe this one's the not filled in one. I like that better. Okay, so that's not filled in. Maybe it's a little bit thicker. And then we're gonna just group these guys up, shrink it up that way too. And then cool, so then what we have is saying, okay, it's gonna drag from here to here. And now all of a sudden I sort of know what that's gonna be like. And then the question becomes, how do I add a second one? So I guess if I have another artboard that's similarly hooked up where it's starting to look more like, I don't know why I have that second guy there. Hereditary. Let's do this, make this bigger. So now all of a sudden it sort of went from here to here, but now we're gonna say this doesn't have a fill. And then this one does. That's what it sort of went to. Okay. hope everyone's understanding the problem I'm trying to solve here. So now we want to get it to essentially behave like this, where, I don't know, I have the second one still. It goes here, but the drag is over here. So I'm wondering if there was a way to say, maybe pulling from here. Maybe I can pull from here and a wire comes out, and then I can just dock it anywhere. So how would I get it to this fourth one is another question. So let's see. I'm gonna link this up, and then I'm gonna say, I want this. Actually, I will duplicate this real quick. And then I'm gonna say, I want this to extend over here. And then I'm gonna assign that drag. So we're gonna use drag to prototype a new drag feature, which is always tons of fun. We're gonna do that, right? So I'm gonna say, maybe you have to hold a modifier, like a alt or something, and then you can pull this out, and then now I have 2 drag positions. And then likewise, I can go the other direction where I'm gonna duplicate this group. Yeah. But I'm gonna shrink it down. Put it back on there. Now I'm gonna take this. Nope, I didn't do it. Where did my group go? Layers panel. You know what, before I do that other thing, I'm gonna actually copy this. I'm gonna actually put this over here. I'm gonna actually set up the end state first. And then duplicate it, and then I'm gonna go ahead and collapse it. Sometimes that's the best way to do something. And then I'm gonna take this and maybe do a drag. Let's hope that works. A little trial and error. Yep, and there you go. So I can just drag out of there, and I can set up these 3 spots. Okay, good question. So I think this is an interesting solution. It's obviously like my first take at it. Just being able to, once you set up one drag, then you can just start to drag out other sort of positions where you want it to go. And this is all doing it on one artboard, where normally we'd have to do it on multiple artboards. So I think that's even cooler. So let me see. So vertical drag is definitely a thing. So how drag actually works, and maybe it's a good thing to go into. Drag actually works like this, where make this red, do this, and if I link this up with drag and auto animate, what it's doing is actually scrubbing between the two. So this is horizontal, obviously, but if I take this and then say move it over here, it's gonna just figure out the differences, and it's just gonna go that way. So now all of a sudden I have this. What if I want an infinite carousel? Ooh, okay. Okay, here's how I would set that up. Ooh, that's a great one. Let's see how I would set that up just in today's XD. Okay, so I have this. I guess what I would do is, you need a few artboards, I feel. Well, I guess all you would need to do is, oh, I forgot I had that other layer in there. I'm gonna ungroup these and keep it a group though. So what you'd have to do is actually just add the second one like this. And I feel like that should do it, right? Actually, what I would do is okay. I'm gonna drag this, set this one up, set this group up. I love ones where you have to think about it, because you can do a lot, but you just have to plan for it a little bit. And then what I'm gonna do here, okay, so I'm gonna say on drag. We'll do this guy to this, auto animate it, right? Make sure that works. Then we get there. And then I'm going to do a timed transition. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna go time 0 transition and then go to none. So it's gonna instantly go here. So what's gonna happen is I'm gonna drag this, it's gonna go here, and then instantly once I stop dragging, go here. And then from here, I'm gonna set this up so it's aligned, but I need to be perfect or else you'll notice it. So I'm gonna take this as like a thing. I guess I could have used the ruler tool. And then let's see. Make sure that all the timing is right. Yep, that seems right. And then from here, I am gonna say, take this guy and then set up a drag to go here. And this should give me essentially what I'm looking for, I think. Where I drag here, then I can keep dragging here, and I should be able to drag forever, right? So if you set it up properly, you can just keep doing these sort of things. But yeah, that's a good question. Those are really fun. Fun things to try to plan for. But yeah, drag's one of those things where it's both motion and it's interactivity, and they sort of are codependent on each other, which is pretty cool. I mean, the way we do it is that it's very linear to how motion works. But how we'd want to do that maybe in the future, or at least allow for, is maybe like a free range drag or something, or more behavioral things on an object instead of just very much determined by the designer. We want to maybe allow for the users that are testing this, or stakeholders that are sort of playing around with this, to do whatever they want with it, or maybe get into situations that the designer didn't curate. Those are things that we can't do today, but are things that we're looking at. Seeing if people are asking for them, but it's a super interesting feature set. And again, like mixing that with, and I go back to this this description. This is mixing both the drag, like this. So this is under my control, and then when I do that, the time transition happens, and it actually just plays through the auto animate. And then again, I'm back to being under my control, and then time transition puts the user where the designer wants them to be. It's a really powerful set of things. And yeah, this was a fun exploration. Sort of doing it on the fly. I wasn't sure how I was going to handle it, but I kind of dig this approach. It's a one artboard approach too, which is a little bit different than how XD handles a lot of our interactions. So it's something we want to go through. Reading through the things. What about double triggers, drag or click? Yes, those are things we're gonna announce soon, and we can talk about and show soon, but we're not ready yet. But we hear you. But that does it for our show. Thanks for joining us, everyone, and happy Friday.